Hey everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. It is a beautiful morning here in my mid-Missouri Zone 6 garden. It is nearing the end of the second week of September, and I am ready for fall. But my weather forecast would say differently. In fact, I check the weather every day, and I looked at our long-term forecast last night, and in my area of the country, it's supposed to be, the high supposed to be in the 90s for the next 6 days. And so I don't care. I am ready for fall. I've been away on a wonderful vacation, which you'll learn more about in some upcoming videos. I've been gone for over 2 weeks. Just got back a few days ago, and I am itching to take care of my plants and swap some plants out. So it's going to be today, out with the old and in with the new. And my fall containers are going to be much more than just mums. Before I start tackling today's fun project of transforming these planters, I'm going to invite everybody out there to please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't had a chance to before. Those of you that are subscribers, thank you so much for being here and supporting me. I'm just a home gardener here in mid-Missouri, and we don't have very many folks on YouTube that are gardeners gardening in Missouri. And so I can really connect with a lot of Midwest gardeners who experience all 4 seasons. We have extremely hot and humid summers, cold winters. That's why I love living where I do, actually, because not only is it a beautiful place to live, but I love change, and this climate that we live in will provide that. So, okay, enough about where I am and what I'm doing in my garden. But before I take you inside the greenhouse to show you the plant selection for today, I want to talk a little bit about these containers. So those of you that follow my videos know that I grew 48 Maverick bullseye style geraniums in this gorgeous color of salmon. I grew them from seed. I grew 2 big trays, as I said, and they have performed beautifully. Again, 48 plants for the cost of the seed. I don't know what I spent. Swallowtail seed, I think the seed was, I don't know, maybe around $5 a package, and I still have lots of seed left over for next year. So I know some of you, it's going to be really hard later in the video when I start to pull these out so I can plant new things in. But just know that these have performed for me for 4 whole months. In fact, I have them planted all over the property, and I gave many of these gorgeous geraniums away to my friends as gifts. So they have served their purpose well. The what was supposed to be the centerpiece are these beautiful unplugged So Blue salvia. It's a proven winner's annual. They are gorgeous now in terms of their color and performance, but for me, in this spot, they took forever to get going. And in fact, I expected them to be taller and more of a statement in the center and surrounded by the geraniums. And, you know, it didn't work out that way. So next year, I already have ideas of what kind of annuals I'm going to put in here. And I want something that's going to get a good 3 feet tall to really pop. So anyways, aren't we as gardeners always thinking about next year? I mean, I try to embrace the moment like I'm doing today, but really that's the beauty of gardening. You can switch things up, and it's an experiment every year. So, okay, enough about that. So these are coming out, plants are going in, and more than just mums. So I'm going to take you inside the greenhouse next. We're going to look at the plants I've selected. I actually did a visit to my local Lowe's 2 days ago and picked out some plants. I wasn't sure I'd find anything I really liked there, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I hope you're gonna think they're pretty neat and scream fall. And so yeah, that's what we're gonna do next. So I'm gonna grab the camera. We'll go inside the greenhouse. I'll show you my selections, and after that, out here, pop these babies out, send them to the compost bin, and put in new fresh plants for fall. Okay, let's head inside the greenhouse, and I'll share with everybody the plants that I've selected for this project. And it's early morning. I'll turn on some more lights. The sun is just now rising, so I hope they'll show up for everybody. and let's talk about these plants. So here we are inside the greenhouse, and in fact, the only thing that really is happening in my greenhouse right now is I've got behind the camera, you can't see, but I've got some herbs in one of my raised beds. I've got a little raised bed back here that's packed full of geraniums that I love. So basically herbs and geraniums are the only thing that are in here because I don't grow a lot in here in the summertime because it's blistering hot. This is really used the most for me in spring and in fall. And it's a great place to come out in the winter and have a cup of coffee and enjoy the snow. So, okay, here we go. So let's get to the plant selection. What I had in mind when I went to Lowe's a couple of days ago is I wanted to not just use mums and not just use pansies or violas. I wanted to select things that had texture and just were different, but sort of autumnal, right? Those fall colors. And so this is what I came up with. I have grown these before, and so these are actually a tropical houseplant, but this is called croton. Do you see this? I actually had these growing last year inside the greenhouse. So although they're tropical and they don't like heavy frost, so they're not going to last forever, but once it starts to cool off significantly, I'll pull them out of the pots in front of the greenhouse and I'll bring them in here, and they do amazingly well in my greenhouse. So they're not going to go to waste. So I just thought, yeah, so interesting, right? Lots of fall color. You've got some oranges, some yellows, some greens, a little bit of red. So I thought that was going to be super beautiful. And then I did break down and get some mums. And so I picked some yellow mums. Just a real quick note about mums. Everybody's going to be heading to the nurseries, grabbing up mums for fall planting. And the best recommendation on purchasing mums is you want to try to purchase them when most of these little buds are closed. If you get them fully mature and fully ripe where their flowers are completely open, unless you are having a party and you need immediate flower power, it's really a good idea. They'll last much longer if you get them in the budded up form. So you can see on here, let's bring it in. This one is pretty, not completely open, but we have lots of buds that aren't and some that are just starting. So you'll get more longevity out of your mums. Purchase them with their buds tight, and they'll last longer for you. Okay, so full sun, all these things love full sun. And of course, the pots where I'm putting them get full sun. Okay, here's something I'm going to do that I've not ever done for a fall container. I purchased some perennials and I purchased sedum. Take a look at this, bring it in close. So this is autumn fire sedum, and the specs on this, full sun, of course, and let's look at the mature size. It will get 18 inches high and wide. So my croton that I picked, this is pretty much its mature size. So this is going to be the biggest plant, and then these will get bigger. And the other thing about autumn fire sedum, if I turn it around, maybe you can see the tag. You see the tag there? That's what color these flowers will turn. So they'll have a beautiful rusty pinky red color that I think is going to really scream fall. These are perennials. So they're going to be in my containers. I may choose to take them out in maybe 6 weeks from now and plant them in the landscape, but I may choose to just leave them in these pots all winter long. They're very, very hardy. Let's see, what are the zones on this? Cold hardiness zone, well, it says not hardy in zones 1 and 2, but I'm a zone 6B, so they're perfectly fine to stay outside all winter long. Okay, so that's a perennial. And then last but not least, I had to, of course, pick some petunias. Let's see, or petunia, sorry, some pansies. Does this have a name? It does not. Pansy, viola, full sun, I don't know. So, but isn't that a beautiful color? That pumpkin-y color. So yeah, It's going to be pretty straightforward. So all I'm going to need for this project, I'm going to need my gardening gloves, probably a trowel. I'm going to need maybe some fresh soil. Yeah, not much is going to be needed. I'm going to need my refuse bag because I got to pull out all those geraniums that are out there and the salvia before I put these beautiful plants in. So that's all there is to it. I'm going to take you along and we're going to go back outside in front of the greenhouse and get to work. So my first step is just to remove the annuals from the containers, and if this is hard for you to see, you might want to look away, but I'm just going to lift and toss right into my bin. These beautiful geraniums have pumped out flowers for 4 whole months, and that's incredible. I mean, 16 weeks. Yeah. So I'm just going to pop these out. And then I did bring some soil, some more potting mix out to see if I need to add that to top this off when I put in the new plants. So thank you, geraniums. You were absolutely glorious. So beautiful this year and did really, really well. I'm noticing this pot is really dry. And so when I was on my 2-week vacation, I topped it off because they're aqua pots. They have a 3-gallon watering vessel in the bottom, and this is where you fill it. So I'm noticing the soil is pretty dry. So I'm going to make sure when I water them in, I'm going to actually fill these vessels with 3 gallons of water. And in this weather we're having, I probably won't have to give them water more than once every 2 weeks. As it cools off, once every 3 weeks. It really holds on to the water. That's why I love aqua pots. So I filled up the reservoir in both of my aqua pots. One of the ways that I can tell if they're full or empty is just the weight of the pot. And actually that applies to any kind of container that you have. Hanging baskets, same thing. I'll just do a little lift test, and I'll feel it and I'll wiggle the pot. And if it's really moving easily, I know, oh, it's super dry. So anyhow, okay. So that was the first step. So now I want to place the plants where I think I want them, and then we'll get them in the pot. So I'm thinking this is what I want to do. So I think the crotons, I'm thinking I want them to be in the back. And then I'm thinking the next 2 size down would be the mums and the sedum. And then I think I've got 6 of the pansies here. And so I think I'll just fill the pansies in like so. Let's see how that looks. I think I like that. And so what I'm going to try to do is just do a mirror image on the other side. So let's do the same thing, but it will mirror the other one. So croton in the back, the mum on the outside, the sedum on the inside of the pot towards the door, and tuck in the pansies kind of in between. So I'll stand back and take a look. I like that. I love the textural differences. And what will be really fun is right now, the sedum barely has color, but once they're in this pot and they start getting lots of sun, they will color up. And again, autumn fire, they'll have a beautiful reddish, orangey cast to the flowers. So that will give more color right here. So I'm pretty satisfied with that, and I think I'm going to achieve the result. The result was trying to mix annuals and perennials and lots of different texture rather than I often plant a lot of the similar kinds of things. What's it called? I don't know, mono planting, where you have basically the same kind of plant in mass. I really wanted to switch it up this year and add some variation. So all I have to do is get the plants in the pots. One thing I did want to mention, I will not be using my Biotone root starter fertilizer because a lot of these plants will be in here for maybe 6 weeks. And so I'm not too worried about, the health of the plants. They have really good root systems. So I'm not going to put any Biotone in because they're not going to live in here for very long. The other thing I wanted to mention to you also about these plants is just like anytime you plant in containers, you want to make sure the plants you're going to use have been well watered. And I watered them very well yesterday. You don't want to put a bone dry starter plant in soil. It just isn't healthy for the plant. So I guess enough talking, and now it's time to plant. They come with these cute little containers, so I'll hang on to that for something. Maybe give it to a few little cutie patooties I know that might appreciate that decorative pot. And so let's see how the crotons are doing in terms of their root system. Okay, very nice, no problems there. All right, so I'm gonna have to dig out and move some soil where that's gonna go. I think what I'll do is use the nursery container to move some of this excess soil. I brought some potting soil out with me because I didn't know how much I would lose when I pulled out all the geraniums and the salvia earlier, but I don't really think I'm going to need any. So that's good news. Okay, so let's do that, see what happens. See if that's deep enough. Okay, I think that's going to be just right. So I'll backfill with what's in here. Okay, very good. All right, so I've got the croton in there. Move this out of the way, make sure it's centered where I want it. Okay, so I think next up is going to be that yellow mum, and it's going to go on this side. So let me dig out. We have the soil. Let's see what its root system looks like. Mums are water hogs. They love, love, love plenty of water. So you want to make sure you water them regularly and don't let them dry out. If they dry out, oh, forget about it. Game over. Actually, I'll try to tuck in. Okay. All right, so now I need to make space for my sedum, my autumn fire sedum. Let's see how that's going to work. And again, I would say right now my autumn fire sedum is maybe 10 inches tall, but it's supposed to get up to 18 inches tall. Okay, so that's got a deep root ball, so I really need to go a lot deeper with my hole. Okay, think that's pretty good. So now I'll just tuck in these sweet little pansies. Oh yeah. Put a couple here right in the front so they'll spill over. And it's perfectly okay to turn your plants sort of on their side, or, have them tilting outward. That is not a bad idea at all. Okay, so I'm just going to have to feel around in here and add in more soil around the pansies, and this pot will be done. So it's a water, rinse, and repeat. So I'm just going to do the same thing on this side and water them in, clean up my mess, and I will have the start of a beautiful fall focal point here in front of the greenhouse. So let me take you all in for a closer look at the beautiful croton, the beautiful autumn fire sedum that, if I get in really close, you can barely see a little tinge of color on the flowers, and a little mum, and of course the pumpkin colored pansies. So, come back in a couple of weeks when I do my September garden tour, and these will start filling in, and just bring on fall, y'all. I am ready. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me today as you got to come along as I transformed these two big containers in front of my greenhouse. I swapped out the beautiful summer annuals for a fall display, and I could not be more happy with how they turned out. I hope today might give you guys some ideas on how you want to do your fall containers in terms of really mixing it up. Perennials, annuals, things that be thinking about what can I do with them after. Do I put them in the compost heap? Can I replant some of those things? Can I bring them in if you have a greenhouse or inside your house and keep those things going for the rest of the season? I am certainly ready for fall. I know you probably are as well, and I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. What are you going to be putting in your fall containers? Give us some inspiration. Gardeners are some of the best people around. They're so willing to share with each other ideas that we can all learn from and replicate in some cases. So anyhow, thanks again everybody, and until next time, I wish you all happy gardening.